Good afternoon, everyone. Carpo, big nature fan here. Today, I was out here this morning on the porch and I was looking at this sage plant, and it set me off on this, thought pattern for the day, I guess. And brought me to this video that I was going to make. And the subject, of course, wasn't about the flower, it was about something else. But as I stepped outside to make the video, I looked and saw the flowers, and I realized that was the root of where today's idea had come from. And I think about this a lot, but the idea of natural selection, evolution, creation, and I've explained it, I guess, before in videos. I'm sure, for those who are probably, haven't seen my other videos, wouldn't know what my take is on it. I guess I believe there's like a blueprint for everything, and it's a vibration, an energy that I don't understand how it works. I won't get into the details. I want to get to the story first. This flower right here, when you look at it, you can see the shape of it. And, well, if we can get it to focus there. See if we can, never wants to focus when I want it to. So anyway, it's got this red part that hangs down, and then the white part up here at the top. These are hummingbirds. These attract hummingbirds. When I looked at the flower right away, I knew how it worked because I've studied flowers, other types of flowers that do the same type of thing. You can barely see it, but up there's the main petal down here. The nectar's down inside, down on the bottom. Up here are these two fine hairs, and when the bird comes in, his beak bumps this, and it goes pop, pulls that down, and the pollen pops down onto his beak, and then he goes off to the next flower and pollinates it. And it only works for the hummingbirds, because any other bug that tries to land, he gets onto this flimsy leaf and he falls off. Can't grab hold and can't get deep enough to get it. Point being that I've thought about this several times, the different connections between animals and flowers, or insects and flowers, and the old bee and flower connection. But it's not just bees, it's moths and flies and all different types of animals and insects. Some plants have learned how to make seeds with hooks that are attached to animals. And you start to ask yourself, how does this randomly occur in mutation? And people will say, well, when you go back billions of years, it's easy to see how this can happen. And sure, that makes sense. Sage smells phenomenal. I started to think about the butterflies that pollinate some of these. And then I considered the chrysalis, which is where the butterfly goes into its larva stage, or the caterpillar goes into the larva stage and becomes a butterfly. And for those who aren't aware, during this stage, in this cocoon stage, the entire creature dissolves into a liquid. This liquid contains all of the essential amino acids, nutrients, and building blocks to rearrange these components of this, previous caterpillar, and turn those components, which are programmed to catalyze into these other insect parts like wings and whatnot, go through this pupae stage, then they come out as these beautiful butterflies. After that, they navigate, 1,000 miles down to Mexico. It's just an amazing thing. But the butterfly itself, to me, I was wondering, is this something that I'm sure this has occurred to other people. So of course I Googled it, and there is that old butterfly pupae controversy in evolution, in Darwinism. How does Darwinism explain the butterfly, and I've heard the argument a lot during, in creationism and otherwise, about how the eyeball can't be, reduced to its components, and how was the eyeball created. And there are some scientific studies to show that, perhaps the eyeball, was created out of a different component or some other sensing organ we used. All of that's possible, but how and why is the question. And why would that survive? The question with the butterfly is, how would any random mutation, how would any bug survive the larval stage? How would the first one make it through? And why would that become a normal trait? And this is a controversy that goes back and forth, between people who believe in evolution and those who believe in creation. And it's this huge debate, and I don't understand why it can't be a combination of the two. And so, in my heart, in my essence, like with all the research, as well as just the heart and the soul searching, the psychedelics, the otherwise searching I've done, I've come to believe that nature is a system that is driven by an intelligence, not in the way that we see intelligence as humans, because that's where we go wrong. We start to put a label on it, call it Jesus, call it whatever. It is nature itself is the intelligence, in the sense that nature has a blueprint. It could be a cosmic vibration that sets the planets in motion, but it's probably more of a local vibration that creates the planetary system, if you will. So the Earth's frequency or tone or vibration rate sends out signals which reflect off of the DNA, which are toned to reflect and to receive electromagnetic signals. They're finding components of DNA that have to do with electromagnetism, and they don't know exactly how it works. But it's becoming clearer and clearer that everything's based on this, these vibratory rates, these little energies. And if you haven't had the epiphanies just walking through the woods, then I can't ever explain it to you. Like, I could never. In other words, I've ceased to try to justify or explain it to anyone who is like a full-blown evolutionary scientist or a believer in just random mutation. Like, it makes no sense to me to even try to. It's like arguing the sky is blue to me at this point. That there's something greater at work here, and I'm not going to try to label it, because that's where we go wrong. But you know, I love to say, hey, well, we might figure it out one day. But as quantum physics has taught us, the deeper we look, the more unsure we are. In fact, quantum mechanics has shown us that the reality of how nature works is more complicated because the sub-reality isn't real itself. In other words, the system on which everything is built is an if or a maybe. You know, the idea of quantum non-locality, that two things can be at the same place at once. Physics ignores quantum physics so much because it turns it on its head. Not so much that it negates physics, it's just that it can't be proven or known because of the uncertainty principle. And that's basically that we can never quite know anything for sure. So I can sit here and smell this flower. And I'll tell you another thing I learned today. When you smell a flower, or smell anything for that matter, you're actually sensing the vibration of the molecule of the scent. And if you think that sounds like bullshit, they were wondering why certain smells smell the same. They found out that almond and cyanide smell the same, and they were wondering why. And they found out that the molecules are shaped completely different, so why should they smell the same? And it threw the idea of smell on its head, because they found out that these molecules vibrate just like strings at a certain frequency, and that your brain interprets that frequency when you inhale those. You know, how all of this works. I know a lot of people like to think that the human body has been all figured out, and you know, that's a nice idea, but you know, while we have understood a lot about it, there's so much more we don't. In fact, only in the last 20 years have we started to really believe that we can have the intention to create our own realities and health. You know, when people talk about intention, a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter what you intend, nature's going to do what it does. But we've proven this wrong over and over in hospitals with placebo, as well as people taking, there have been several cases of people who got cancer and they were told the medicine would work and they started getting better. Then they found out it wasn't even, the medicine didn't work and they got worse, you know, and then they get a different medicine, got better, found out heard that one didn't work, and then they got worse. That your thought about how things are working on you, everything that happens to you, is a result of the frequency that you're emitting through your intention and your being. I'm sitting here telling you this, and it sounds like bullshit to a lot of people. It doesn't matter. This is how I interpret the world around me. Whatever vibration I'm putting out, I'm going to pick up on those resonant frequencies and create a sense of a what do you call it? Kind of like a locomotion. Like, you know, you get it going, get the intention flowing, and get your life to where so difficult to express. Because it's not a matter of just think what you want and have it. It's a matter of setting things in motion and letting them take hold. And there's no reason not to think that our intentions affect our bodies, and as well that we create our own frequencies with this. Brainwaves have been measured, so we know that we emit brainwaves. It's only a matter of, conjecture, I guess, to say that we can receive those brainwaves from others. But if you believe in any type of psychic phenomenon, remote viewing, any of that, any one of those things, and the reason why a lot of these things like psi phenomenon are pretty much ignored is because if any one of them were admitted, it would turn so much of science on its head. And this is why we ignore so many facts. This is why quantum mechanics is so ignored by, but I think the mainstream population is probably more interested in quantum mechanics than, a lot of physicists, just because it's such a confusing thing, but it's so amazing. People are attracted to it because it shows us we don't know shit. It shows us that even the scientists who are doing the deepest, smallest hunting are finding out that just don't know. So, if everything that we smell is vibration, and everything that we see is nothing more than light, which is a frequency, right? It's radiation. It's reflecting off the atoms of whatever we're seeing, and we're picking up on that particular tone. I guess you could call it a wave or a particle, the photon. So it could be a vibration, I guess. When we touch things, we feel the vibrations within, textures. And what quantum physics, it appears, is getting to is that it's teaching us that everything that the mystery schools taught, everything that the ancients knew about everything being energy, about everything being vibration, is obviously true. If science is going to come to the same conclusion, eventually we will start to see that it's all about keeping the right state of mind. And that would be the root of everything, I guess, that I just said. Would be that if any of this is true, if there's any type of vibratory rate to things, then you can create your own negative space and choose to live in that negative space. And when you create that negative space, more negativity will come to you. I've seen it happen because it happens to me, or it used to. And sometimes it still does. And we as humans almost welcome it sometimes, We kind of dabble in the negativity, but wipe the tears away and get the shit going, get on with life. Remember that just existing, when I make these videos, sometimes I'm just looking around at stuff around me and just, while I'm making videos, just kind of marveling at all the awesome things, like everything around me, the plants and the inventions and textures and ropes and stuff, and never ceases to amaze me. Life is always a welcome, awesome thing, and we have to remember that merely existing and being conscious is something to be grateful for. Everything else is just bonus.